Boop. There we go. Man, it was like initially kind of cool today, and now it's really hot. Ugh, lame. And what the fuck? These are still connected somehow. Where's the other bud? Where'd it go? Okay. Whoa! Fucking hell! Jesus! My God! Trying to find a thing, and that just started blasting out of nowhere. Alright, where'd it go? Here. For some reason. Okay. Oh my God, dog. Jesus. Man. I put my butt in my freaking way? Shit. Jeez. Louise. Ugh. Damn, dog. My good Lord. Nope. There we go. Oh, fuck off, man. What the fuck? Seriously. Ugh. Fucking goddamn. Okay. Yeah, where did that other fucking butt go? How did I lose that? Was it just in my pocket? Da, da, da. I guess so. Oh my fucking... Really? My God. Fucking gravity. I just woke up. I mean, kind of. I mean, I went to the store, grabbed some coffee, and then came back. I guess the usual. Okay. Oh, and do this, because this fucking piece of shit did not want to cooperate. Okay, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Hey. Fucking damn hiccups. Basically, what the fuck? Gee, why do you like start shit off so fucking like? Look, can we wait a minute? Oh my God. It doesn't have to be that. Like, I don't. Like, I don't care enough about it. I mean, frankly, it's like I especially don't know, like, you know, all the deets to it anyway at this point, because I personally, or, like, purposely trying to fucking, like, avoid, you know, like, listening to news about it. Get loaded up. Shove this shit right in my face. No news. I'm really following this Destiny shit. Nah, I'm not even following that. Mainly because I don't like know all the specifics to it either. Outside of that, the Republicans obviously just want to default on it and just want it to like crumble essentially, and Dems are wanting to just literally keep it at the same. Essentially, I mean, it's like I'm sure there's more to it than that, but that's basically the gist of it. It's like, honestly, like these days, like you could just get a general headline and gist about something and you can kind of infer the rest, like at this point. Like the extra nuance and details are just there for bonus points. Extra credit points, I guess you could say. Also on the race to work for 20 to 40 hours. Yeah, and you know, by the way, like most people don't work 40 hours. Like people like me, like I don't work 40 hours a week. And like the only time I do is if I get overtime on my shifts. Which basically means that like if I'm working more than 8 hours or more than 7 hours on a shift, because I work 7 hours for a shift and shit. And if I'm working anything more than, or about 6 hours actually. So if I have 6 hours and I work more than that, and it adds up to be about like 8 hours for the shift or some shit, and I work like 2 hours of overtime, like each day, then it'd be 40 hours. Like, I straight up, don't get 40 hours a week. I still get full time, but it's just not 40 hours. So basically, you have to, like, work to death to, like, get any public assistance, and the catcher is that shit's gonna be defunded and gutted anyway, so you barely get fuck all for that anyway. Great. That's still a possible problem. Well, yeah, which you could thank FDR for, funny enough. Like, FDR is, the one who kind of codified that in the first place. I mean, if you think about it, the very first recipient for a Social Security check only got, like, 16 cents. I'm not kidding. Like, they only got, like, pennies, basically. But if you think about it, especially back then, that 16 cents went a long way for that person when they first got their Social Security check, or at least the very first one sent out. And there's a reason why, like, even as small as it is, that type of shit is so fucking important. Because the main reason why that was there was to at least have, well, a guaranteed Social Security and being in society. So you're not left out and fucking just, like, abandoned, basically. But our entire fucking system now has essentially forgotten the whole concept of that shit. And now what normally would be like progressive libs are now just NIMBY neoliberals who don't want anything to do with the dirty raggeds, that all the homeless. Great Depression 2, Electric Boogaloo. Well, they did last time. The first Great Depression was started by Republican Herbert Hoover. Due to the same policies that they also, want to espouse now. So, yeah, it would be because of a Republican. It was last time, so what would be different now? Outside the party switch, don't mention that. Herbert tried to fix it after. No, not really. Yeah, he fixed it for himself and his corporate rich robber barons. He fixed the entire game and the system to himself. Like, honestly, Herbert was, like, I mean, he was a con man just like, they are today. He was. He's a criminal piece of shit. He should have been hung as far as I'm concerned. Like, for the crimes and the fucking shit that he did to destroy this nation economically. Like, in the fixes or just ways to just prolong the depression further and basically allowed it, you know, to allow people to starve and suffer further. Like, the dude was a shitbag con artist motherfucker. like, anything that he tried to do was just only to enrich himself in the top 1%, because they were the only ones that got enriched until FDR came into power. Like, Herbert only made things worse and worse every time he fixed things. These gay parents are trying. I mean, fair. Though, but even the people back then were pretty aware of it. That's why, like, Hoovervilles and all the nicknames and all, like, the mockery about him is, you know, was so big at the time. My Republicans don't even do that. Well, they would do it in their own weird way. They will tie it towards wokeism, they will tie it towards, oh, well, honest, good working class Americans don't need that, or whatever the fuck, because they understand the value of hard work, you know, they're gonna couch it in some way to where it has an appearance, you know, of trying, but they literally aren't. They're taking basically a modernization of the Hoover tactic, which is really just, like a kind of an offshoot of Reaganism anyway. Like, I mean, Reagan was inspired a lot by Hoover too. Mainly because, like, of Leo Strauss and a lot of the neoconservatism that codified in the GOP around that time anyway. And, man, like, especially for anyone that's a progressive or a lefty type, I mean, Leo Strauss needs to be a name that people kind of need to know about a little bit. Because that dude really is, like, kind of a codifier of a lot of neoconservatism of today. Like, legitimately. Like, I mean, if you go look at the people that, you know, are kind of like his acolytes or people who are influenced or his students, there are people like Karl Rove, Donald Rumsfeld, the Bushes. There's a lot of people that he's very, you know, that he had a lot of influence with. And then Dem shit it down so the Republicans defends default to not us. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Or is that too clever for them? For the Republicans? Nah. I mean, I want to, like, you know, say, like, at least on the political wing, I want to say they're all stupid. Like, the GOP isn't exactly stupid. The base is, but, like, the actual politicians, they're clever. They're smart Machiavellian. And they play on to the stupidity of the base. So, I wouldn't necessarily rule out that, oh, things can be too clever for them. I mean, I suppose, to an extent, but, I mean, we got lied to a fucking full-on war that, you know. For murmurs that Biden caves to the... Oh, yeah, like, the progressives that actually give a fuck about maybe trying to fix this issue of the debt ceiling thing. And, you know, the progressives might actually have a legitimate, albeit incremental, you know, solution to the problem. But because they're actually offering solutions, incremental as it may be, like, nope, can't have that, shoot down. At least then progressives will have, like, a fucking, you know, some sort of a backbone to say, hey, like, you know, we actually are, you know, pushing and trying to fight for this thing, but they shot us down. Like, you know, out of all times we, you know, fell in line with them, the one time we want them to fall in line with us, they don't. So, they could have a, like, if anything, progressives try to fucking push that. The McCarthy caves to Biden and the lunatics on his side will shoot it down. So it's just politics. It's politics being played with people's lives, I guess, essentially. But, hey, politics wouldn't be that if it wasn't the case. For the next election? Of course, yeah. Oh no, there's a reason why this is a thing right now. It's not I feel like they are, they just are. Like, I mean, this whole debt ceiling thing, this whole woke bullshit, these are things that are getting used as fucking like attacks and points during the election campaign, for sure. honestly, I would not be surprised if this whole debt ceiling thing, like, we're in this limbo thing about, like, oh, what's gonna happen with it up until election day, practically. Like, I would not be surprised. Like, they basically just, like, hold on to this shit or, like, postpone it up until basically to the last fucking second. Like, I really feel like that's what's gonna happen, if anything. We'll lose most of the, yeah. It would basically make Biden unelectable, if it happens. So that's partly the point, which is why Biden is trying to, you know, absolve that problem. I mean, which, I guess, you know, like, whatever outcome comes from that a little bit. Thanks, Republican. Well, that's the point. This is really just the point of politics in our system. In our duopoly system, it basically both sides are trying to disenfranchise, you know, the others, or excite, you know, their own party into voting. Like, and also essentially not voting too. Like, it's a whole fucking back and forth political game. And a lot of it's mostly trying to placate towards, quote unquote, the centrist slash normies and people who are apolitical, who don't really pay attention to a lot of this shit. So, a lot of this type of shit ends up, you know, getting super stonewalled and very, like, super slow moving, just because it's always, you know, about trying to cater to that type of shit, and not actually look at some of the more growing radical wings of the duopoly. Because, I mean, like, you know, for as small as, like, the radical wings are, you know, for, like, the left on the Democratic side and the right on the Republican side, like, you know, they are definitely more of a growing influence at this point. Like, whether on the left or right. Like, both sides, on, you know, radically are, you know, gaining influence and traction. And it's basically, you know, all in all, you know, a back and forth. And, like, I mean, and these parties are just, you know, galvanizing and taking advantage of that. Strip it red. Or at least make it a separate beat. Shout communism, baby. I mean, I guess I get it, but I mean, realistically, if you had things done by the popular vote instead of the electoral college, like, you wouldn't need to do that, because, like, most right-wing policy wouldn't go through. Most people, like, don't actually agree with that, you know, or at least agree with a lot of very far-right conservative values that, you know, are being pushed, you know, by a lot of Republican lawmakers. Like, most people don't like that. I mean, you know, so if things were done via strictly a popular vote, Republicans, or at least, you know, the, you know, far right wing and, like, a lot of the more influential, like, social conservatism would not have as much of an influence as it does. It just wouldn't. It would still be there. Like, I mean, we'd still have these issues, but, like, they just want to have as strong as a voice as they would. I mean, outside of just this, you know, same shit that we have right now, I guess. Just less actual power in, you know, lawmaking and stuff, because if it's done via popular vote and they can't take advantage of the electoral college to win, then they're not going to win. There's going to be far few of them. Prohibiting any business that exists in Alabama from boycotting. How's that? How do you enforce that? And boycotting what specifically? What, boycotting Alabama? And, like, doing business there? So wouldn't they just to social justice, to climate? So just literally anything. Wouldn't Alabama be doing them a service at that point? It's like, oh, you want us, like, you don't want us boycotting? Well, we're gonna boycott the state by just leaving the state, because evidently you don't want us here. And also, what did the fuck, like, I mean, so what about, like, you know, a fucking business that just might happen to have, like, a gay pride flag, you know, just hanging out outside the business? I mean, like, is that also, like, somehow implied into boycotting something? Explains better, I can. contracting companies that refuse to work with fossil fuel businesses and gun makers. Wait, so... Okay, so it's... Okay, so, yeah, alright, so that actually explains it better. It just says refuses to work with fossil fuel businesses and gun makers. How do you enforce that? Because, like, there's a plethora of businesses that don't have fuck one to do with fossil fuels or gun manufacturing. Like, you know, a restaurant or something? Or like a bar, you know, or like a thrift store, you know, or some shit. You know, like, I mean, how do you enforce that? What, you, like, force these businesses to have a contract with, like, a fossil fuel or gun manufacturer or something? It's like, you're a restaurant, but guess what? You're gonna have a gas station pump now or something. Like, what the fuck? Like, how do you enforce that? And also, like, how would they know, like, a business just refuses, you know, to just, like, you know, do business with those, fucking, you know, businesses? Like, what if they just simply don't have contracts with them or anything? Just saying, basically, like, hey, you know, we're not, you know, doing a contract with this fossil fuel company because we prefer a contract with this company. You know, because we think it's a better investment. Like, that's not refusing and just saying, oh, you know, we're boycotting the fossil fuel business. They're just picking a contract that's better. Or at least in their mind is a better investment. So how can you fucking prove that that is just, like, utter refusal? And just being like, nope. I mean, because it's like, if you have, like, different, you know, contracts you're looking at, you know, to... you know, go with, and being like, hey, you know, there's like a fossil fuel one, there's like a, I don't know, like a solar one or some shit, and then you got like a fucking windmill one or something. It's just like, I mean, and you look at it, at the end of the day, like, the fossil fuel one's the one that gets the least amount of return investment, and the other ones do, you're gonna pick the other ones. It's not like, oh, well, fuck the other one, and, you know, just because, like, it's strict fossil fuel, well, even though, well, yeah, I mean, it should be able to say it like that. But how can Alabama law, if they're going to push this, be able to prove that? Unless, like, you know, the person taking the contract is openly saying, fuck the fossil fuel industry, we're not, you know, taking any contract from it. Unless they're openly saying shit like that, how can they prove it? Like, seriously. They forbid from offering gender care. I'm not surprised. And, of course, yeah, again, not surprised with that. Of course they would, like, you know, interweave that shit in here. ESG investment strategies promote a liberal agenda over returns? Based off of what? Just nothing, basically. The bill will also require companies doing business with state entities to provide written verification that the company will not participate in boycotts, timber mining, fossil fuel, and firearm industries. I mean, like... Again, how can they prove it? Oh, they just write saying, oh, we won't do that? Like a little nice formal letter? Because guess what? Those businesses could still technically not do any business with those industries. They just don't have to openly say they're boycotting them. That's the thing. Like, again, how can they prove any of this shit? It's just stupid. It's just a way to just, like, you know, be like, oh, free market? Well, guess what? That don't exist here, bitch. Free market for us, but not for you guys. Yeah, how about that? So we only want businesses that, you know, pertain to our values, you know, that, because that's exactly what a free market is, you know, yeah. I don't even like the whole concept anyway, but, I mean, goddamn, if they're gonna espouse the whole idea of a free marketplace, you know, when it comes to capitalism and shit, then I'm gonna fucking throw that hypocrisy at them. It's like, oh, it's like, I thought you all were about, like, you know, free market enterprise and shit. What happened here? Suddenly businesses are doing things within the free market of enterprise, you know, that you don't like, and now you want to restrict and try to shut those businesses down? That don't sound like capitalism there, brother. That don't sound like a free market enterprise and shit. If a business pays their bride Alabama, they will do what it's always done and look the other way. Oh, I'm sure. There's also that, too. In a bit of good Alabama news, they're voting in bipartisan legislation to cut the grocery tax from 9 to 4%. Well, that's good, at least. That actually is good. Because sales taxes like that are just fucking, basically just like poor people taxes. Like, they're just basically meant to just extort more money out of poor people. I mean, luxury taxes and stuff like that I'd be far more okay with. But like, a grocery tax, even if there should be something like that, which I don't think there should, it should be like 1%. And that's like maximum. Like, I mean, if they're, like, cause, I mean, realistically, you wouldn't need to have something like that, but if it had to be a situation where you needed it or something, for whatever reason, even if it's temporarily, like, there's really, frankly, no reason why it should go over more than 1%. Yeah, but Dem somehow got enough Republicans to sign it. That might pass by narrow margins. Of course it's narrow margins. Because a lot of Republicans are probably thinking, this will hurt my business, I don't want this. Those taxes are meant to benefit me. Would you quit fucking falling? My god. Oregon has a crisis. Oregon? Crisis. Not that I'm aware of. I'm sure there probably is. Oregon's always got something going on. I bet if I went on, like, either the Portland or Oregon subreddits, I'm sure I'll find something. Since now you mentioned it, I'm gonna go there. Y'all's local branch of the Republican terrorists keep walking out, y'all Senate. I didn't pass. Oh, that? Oh my god, yeah, that shit. Oh, dude, that has literally been a problem for years, dude. Dude, they literally keep doing this over and over again. We actually passed a law where if, people, if anyone in the state senate or Congress is absent for more than 10 times, they're disqualified from running for re-election and shit. Because of this fucking problem. And honestly, I don't even think that's gonna fucking help anything, because they're still doing it. They don't give a shit. And this is actually already disqualified to Republicans, by the way. Like, they can't run again, but they're gonna try, and they actually are trying to challenge the law, even though it's literally codified in the Oregon Constitution, so that, like, and they're trying to say it's unconstitutional, and it's like, literally, no, it's not. Like, the law was codified into the Constitution, you fuckface. So, like, that's been a problem for a long time, dude. For years now. Like, they have been a thorn in the fucking side, dude. That's not a crisis, that's just, like, just business as usual around here. Mix of gnarly state borders. I'm very well aware of that. And that is not going anywhere. Like, that ain't gonna happen. Ever. And in fact, it would actually cripple Idaho more than Oregon. It would hurt both states, but Oregon would actually fare better either way. So, like, it's like, despite the attempt of, like, trying to expand Idaho's economy and shit like that, it would actually make it worse. So, oops. I don't think they're gonna realize that, but they're too stupid to realize it, so. Oh well. Dumbasses. But yeah, like, and also a lot of the different fucking Oregon Republicans are kind of in favor of that too. And also when they fucking walk out and are absent, guess where they're at? Idaho. They're either there or just like hanging out in Washington or some shit. And I just wish that I could have a job where I could literally just not show up, still get paid, literally do nothing. It's like, yeah, you have a job. What do you do? Literally nothing. It's just like, wow, what a great, like, it's just amazing. It's like, if you want a job that literally does nothing, just be a Republican in the Oregon legislator. There you go. Not that hard. Well, that's sick. I honestly think that the law that passed, you know, when it comes to like disqualifying people for being for unexempted absences, I really should have that should have been a lot more strict, and it should have required like basically like a 3-strike rule. If you're not, you know, in the House or Senate, you know, for any session for like more than like, and you're absent for more than 3 times, then you're just immediately expelled, just immediately by law, and there will be immediate special election to fill your seat. Like pretty much like the moment you miss a session, and it's unexempt. Like, I can understand exemptions like, you know, medical emergencies, family emergencies, you know, being sick, stuff like that. Like, I mean, there are exceptions, or maybe like, you know, oh, I have like, you know, a meeting, you know, with, you know, like in Washington or some shit, you know, so I won't be able to attend, you know, this time around. Like, there are, you know, in my opinion, you know, meritable exemptions, but it needs to be very strict, and there needs to be actual proof and like, you know, like receipts to show that this is the case, like doctor's notes and like, you know, like at least like a flight ticket showing that like, yes, this is, you know what I have to deal with right now. You know, there needs to at least be actual verifiable proof, and it needs to be required by law for sure. And prison time. And the max. I mean, I don't know if we would be able to get that far with it. I feel you though, but I don't think you'd be able to get, you know, that extreme with that. I wouldn't mind the prison time though, because they probably deserve it, at least a little bit. That's the serious we should take the local jobs, IMO. I mean, I don't disagree. That's why I'm like, you know, I don't know if we could get to that extreme, but it needs to at least be treated like that. Like, cause, you know, like, yeah, if you are, you know, basically outright, you know, just straight up fucking doing fucking nothing and like just not doing your job at all, yeah, it should be immediately expelled and fucking, if anything, at least, you know, serve some time. At least like a couple years. It's a little nippy today. Ooh. Oh my god, that dog is in the fucking laundry room again. For misuse on the misuser. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, like, in an entire system that is supposed to be, like, you know, representative of the people and by the people and shit, I mean, like, it should, you know, by that logic, you know, be fundamentally, you know, like, consequential towards those that, you know, go against that idea. But, you know, unfortunately, like, I mean, our concurrent system is just so hell-bent and drunk on the idea of, you know, being, you know, the elite top power and shit, that there's just, you know, there's only a few options left, basically, to really address that. Too drunk on power? Well, yeah. That's what I mean. That's why it leaves a few certain options. I'll grab my jacket. It is kind of nipple. What are you doing in there? On the flip side, I've done some digging. Nuclear war would both be better and worse than we imagined. How would it be, quote unquote, better than we imagined? Like, it wouldn't. That's not exactly how I would necessarily put it, but okay. That there is actually this chance for enough humans to survive better than not turn into worlds? Well, of course it wouldn't. I mean, look at the movie Threads. I mean, like, the movie Threads shows some of the aftermath, like, you know, years after the nuclear war and shit. And honestly, that movie's fucking terrifying, by the way. Like, legitimately pretty terrifying. But like, this, you know, but despite, you know, all that shit, like, I mean, at least some part of the aftermath, if you look at some of the things that are mentioned about the environment, while it's very barren when it comes to, like, harvesting food and survivability, it's legit, like, you know, very low. However, though, it's like, I mean, it's not like it wouldn't be gone. I mean, it's just that things would have to take a very drastic, you know, like, factors of evolution, essentially, to different pressures that just weren't simply there. Our precision nukes make destroy military industry. And but we still have Cold War era nukes. And we still have big nukes. Just because we have, like, those type of things. I mean, even with that, like, you realize that a lot, like, you know, like, a lot of these fucking those nuclear missiles that you're talking about, those ICBMs carry like 6 to 12 of those, mind you, depending on the type of ICBM and specific type of warhead. Like, there's multiple, and they're meant to break off and hit a big area. Like, yeah, it's meant to be more precise, but you're still hitting a huge area. And that's kind of the point of it. You know, instead of having just one big bomb, why not just make them smaller and more precise and just hit a bigger area? And then, you know, everything else in between will still get fucked up, but it just won't be absolutely wiped out. Nuclear, why is this India, Pakistan, Russia, and Ukraine? If it's Russia and Ukraine, you do realize that America and the West would get involved. India and Pakistan, I mean, honestly, same thing. Maybe just less likely. Russia's not about to maybe use attack nuke. Well, yeah, and if they do, again, the America and the West will absolutely get involved in World War III at that point. I guess at that point it's the question of whether, like, China does or something like that. Which I don't know if they would, at least right off the bat. They would probably take advantage after a while. Let time, you know, kind of play out a little bit. You know, let kind of carnage, you know, happen, and then take advantage of some of the rummage and shit. Ah, that's dog. Like a mutt. Though at least for, like, India and Pakistan, I mean, obviously there'd definitely be certainly a global interference with that, if that were to happen. I just don't know what that would look like. Because honestly, like, if India and Pakistan were to launch nukes and shit, I mean, I don't know if it would be likely that the rest of the world would do it. I mean, maybe. I still think it probably would. Maybe China would probably do that. And if that's the case, then it'd be likely that other nations would too. But like, how likely would that be the case? And would China even do that? Doubt it. I think the one might not trigger World War III if everything. Wait. I think the least bad way I've seen nukes fly with North Korea try and think England. Well, yeah, and the thing is, I think, you know, I mean, say what you want about the leadership in North Korea, I don't think they're stupid enough to do that. They're willing to push the boundaries, like, because they do that a lot, you know, in a sense of, like, you know, seeing how far they can go when it comes to just kind of, like, you know, poking the West a little bit. But a lot of it's just, you know, to be like, look at our big bad nukes and shit. Because, you know, like, they don't pose a threat or anything, you know, necessarily. Yeah, like, at least, you know, outside of mainly just the Korean Peninsula, I suppose, you know, just of South Korea. But even then, there's not, you know, there's not, like, this, you know, sense of things are literally about to pop the fuck off or some shit. There's always been, like, an off and on tension there, but it never to a point where things are gonna straight pop the fuck off or anything. Mainly just because it's always just been at this consistent stalemate, mainly, especially because of the West backing, and also just because of the alliance that they have with China. Because it's a little intricate, in a sense, like, because it's kind of a more or less a defensive pact more than anything, because, like, pretty much the whole idea is that, like, if North Korea were to be attacked, China would be in their defense. But if North Korea were to like invade South Korea or some shit, try to do some like reunification or something, then China wouldn't be, you know, going into to their aid. So basically, if North Korea is the aggressor, China won't help. If they're the defender, they will. So, I mean, they basically have a defensive pact with them, which all in all, I mean, is actually pretty smart, especially for China's part, because then it kind of keeps North Korea on a leash. Dude, Sukov! So Ukraine must be regretting giving up this Russian next time, realizing Ukraine never had launch codes to them. Never had a launch code. Well, I mean, in a way, what's the point of keeping them if you don't even have the launch codes to them? I mean, because if you don't even have an ability to launch them or anything, or do anything with them, they're just dormant and they're just there. Basically just fucking, like, just, like, fucking props for all intents and purposes. My point exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose you could probably... I mean, if they're Cold War era, I'm sure, you know, you can reconfigure them and shit. But it would take time, and it would also, like, probably not work, maybe. I don't know, like, there's... like, it doesn't really... Like, it'd be kind of mute. Yeah.
That's why. What are you doing, Bubba?
Were never really Ukraine. They were basically Russian installations akin to NATO bases. Well, that's what they were, yeah.
How long does chicken usually last when it's outside?
I don't fucking know.
Okay.
Like a day or two? Probably.
No, like still edible.
Yeah, like
4 hours? Less than 4 hours?
About, I guess. I don't know, like, why? What?
I didn't put mine in the fridge last night.
I'm sure if you reheated it, like, I'm sure it'd be fine.
How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Just chilling.
Your work?
Yeah. It's gonna be another...
Yeah.
Another one of those fuck days.
You want another one?
I already have one.
I've got Monster Coffee in the fridge.
I already have one in the fridge. I bought a bunch. God. Like, I make sure my shit's all good. It's actually kind of nippy today, so I had to turn that little heater on for a minute.
It's like 70 or 60. I don't fucking know.
And it feels more like 60. They've kind of...
Mid-60s.
Put them in a truck with very depressed, nothing to lose driver, and tell him to ram the gate into the Russian bases. Oh my god. What, like some, like, martyrdom, suicide bomb shit? Like, yeah, I mean, I doubt that would happen. Well, I mean, well, fuck. I mean, there have been, like, I guess, like, suicide bombers, quote-unquote, that have, like... I remember at, like, the very beginning of the war, there was, like, what was it, like, the first month in, like, some dude literally just, like... put a bunch of C4 on a bridge, realized he couldn't make it back, and just said fuck it, and just like blew it, like, not just the bridge but himself away with it. Sure, sides of that. Well, of course they... Well, I mean, there's the whole, like, you know, Wahhabist, like, jihad thing, you know? So, yeah, there's gonna be the whole, like... Is that any Muslim stuff? No, not really. I mean, there is, like... it's not just, you know, with Islam, but there is, like, in a lot of religions, especially Abrahamic religions, this sense of, like, religious martyrdom. And, I mean, especially with religious extremists of really any stripe, you know, there is a lot of, like, strong, like, sense of martyrdom that comes with that. And that includes, but not limited to, like, blowing yourself up, fucking, like, going out guns blazing type of shit, or whatever the fuck. I mean, it kind of, it gets culminated into different things. But honestly, no. I mean, if it was just strictly, you know, about Muslims and shit, then yeah, but, I mean, at least to me, it's not. Like, I mean, we see this with Christians here in a lot of cases. Like, there was this, I think his name was, like, Robert Louis Deere or some shit. Like, the dude who, shot up the whole Planned Parenthood. Like, he was trying to do, like, a whole religious martyrdom and shit because he was a schizophrenic who had, like, visions of, like, dead fetuses upon the gates of heaven telling him to, like, you know, avenge them and shit. Really psycho shit. Would you at least consider it? I mean, I would at least find, like, I would at least, like, I mean, I would, like, assuming that, obviously, like, let's say that they still have them. Like, I would assume and imply that they probably would have at least figured out shit on how to, like, make them work. Or, make them, in a sense, like, deliverable or operable. I mean, if you think about it, they could just take the warheads out of them. Like, they could actually take, like, the actual nuclear warhead out of the missiles and shit and just put that into a different delivery system. So, I mean, honestly, I mean, like, they don't necessarily have to just fucking, you know, just like, strap a fat, gigantic fuck you missile, like, on a truck and just ram something. In fact, I don't even think that would really work. Unless you strapped explosives, you know, to, you know, charge it. And even then, like, there's a very specific reaction that happens to actually set off the nuclear part of the device. Like, just simply exploding a nuke isn't what makes a nuke go off. There's, like, a certain chain reaction that goes to it. And you have to arm that reaction in order for that to happen, so. Just the warhead, I think. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. You could just take the warhead out. And if that's the case, then you could just put it into a different, you know, delivery system. I'd assume. Or just reconstruct a missile that, you know, you can deliver with, you know, based off the same components and blueprints of the one that it was attached to. I mean, or am I Hollywood brained? Well, I think you're thinking a little too Hollywood with it. I think you're getting a little too Hollywood-esque with it, I will admit, but because there is kind of a practical way of, you know, like, making a undeliverable warhead deliverable. Well, it's just basically socially normalized forms, because it pretty much is, honestly. I mean, it honestly kind of is. Of course, the whole hashtag not all, not every single one of them are, but I mean, goddamn, dude. Like, most of them pretty much fucking are. You feel like garbage supposed to ram into checkpoints, it's just scaled up. I mean, basically just like a dirty bomb. I mean, that's essentially, it's just what you're talking about. It's just like a variation of a dirty bomb. Which, like, I mean, which at that point, like, wouldn't there be, like, some international law / like, war crime questionability things going on there? Because it's, like, one thing to use, like, nuclear devices, but then there's, like, dirty bombs, and I'm pretty sure that's, like, a different thing. Instead of a nuclear warhead, you could just make a nuclear boar's head. So if someone bites into their sandwich, it triggers a nuclear explosion. I'm not explicitly advocating this, by the way. I know you're not. That's why I'm mentioning that, you know, it's just like, I mean, if, you know, like, with these things, you know, in consideration, like, when they're, yeah, like, be at least other factors. Boris says launch me company. I know. Dietz Watson, Primo are the ones I know about. I have a lot of people that ask about it, but we don't carry it. And then, I'm pretty sure it's Freddy's that carries that shit. At least over here. So. It should be all kind of war crimey, but in order to survive, I wait for them until after we survive to try them. Well, maybe that's a bad take, but I want prior to survive. Well, I mean, I don't know, like having things like dirty bombs and shit does not exactly prolong long-term survival, though. That's the issue. It's counterintuitive. We'll blow it up here. Oh, come on, this grinder. Find an overall force where surrender is definite open winning. Just scorched the earth. But then, how do you survive that? I mean, it's basically like, if I'm gonna go down, I'm taking you with me at that point. And the thing is, like, I mean, against overwhelming odds. Well, the thing is, like, I mean, that wouldn't even necessarily be the case, like, I would think. Because there, like, is always at least, you know, like, there isn't always just inherent, just like, you know, surrender is death, you know, type of situation. I mean, hell, in some cases, you know, not necessarily putting up a fight, but actually, you know, fighting internally is, you know, better than trying to put up an outright, full-on fight right off the bat. Because there's a different country. I mean, since I'm referring to Nazis here, I mean, well, you know, I'll refer to World War II a little bit. Because there's different countries that the Germans invaded, like Belgium, Denmark, and shit, where they really didn't put up that much of a fight, outside of maybe a couple regiments, you know, that were pretty adamant of the defense. But you know, it only lasted like for a few days at most, and I think for Denmark, literally was like less than 12 hours. And a lot of it was because, like, the governmental apparatus at the time realized that, yeah, there's no way we can really scorch earth anything, and that would actually be disastrous for us. You know, so it's just better to just, like, surrender now, but just, you know, like, basically keep the fight going internally. Because there's a lot of, you know, like, there was a lot of partisan action that was going on in places like Scandinavia. Like, there's, you know, the infamous Norwegian partisans that foiled a lot of the nuclear heavy water production in Norway. And there was also partisans in Denmark. I mean, like, all over, frankly. And a lot of these countries that couldn't really put that much of a fight, or even put up a hell of a fight, like Poland and shit, they had a lot of partisans that just kept that fight going internally. Because, like, in a sense, you know, it's just like, you know, it's like, even though, yeah, surrender is maybe preferable immediately, that doesn't necessarily mean you just don't fight. Because a lot of people did. Even if that didn't necessarily mean picking up a gun, but even doing things like espionage, you know, kind of get maybe friendly with an officer, just to maybe, you know, steal a couple documents and give to partisans or give to the allies. Shit like that. I mean, you know, there's a lot of ways, you know, to fight back and shit that doesn't necessarily have to pick up a gun. And and honestly, I would argue that a lot of partisans that weren't necessarily picking up guns, but doing everything that, you know, was, you know, besides that, you know, are just as, if not even more valuable. Because of a lot of the, you know, like, kind of behind the scenes logistics, a lot of the espionage, you know, info gathering, you know, like, I mean, arguably, they were a lot more important, you know, in cases, just because that's, like, how a lot of information and how a lot of stuff was able to get to the allies and to a lot of these partisans, you know, to be able to foil their war efforts. Just like in this feedback loop. You're the only one doing it. Just don't try to wrap you in. Well, too bad. Like, tough. Like, if you're gonna hang out around here, that's what you're gonna have to, like, hear, so suck it up. To what would be needed to get to that world. I mean, it's like, I deal with paranoia and shit a lot of times too and stuff, but it doesn't really stop me. So I don't have to take that build it. I mean, sure you do, dude. Like, Just because you don't necessarily see it doesn't mean that you don't. Sign strength to some. Only if you actually work to overcome it. Like a part of that, yeah, there's like a second half to that. Like a main, a weakness, is a part of that, but like to actually work and improve that weakness and actually make it more of a strength is, what, truly makes it a sign of strength. Just simply admitting it doesn't, mean that it is. Why is that dog in the fucking laundry room again? I don't get this mode. Like, I don't know. What? Okay. What's that have to do with the price of rice in China? like, weren't talking about that? Knowing your own weaknesses and admitting them to yourself and working and improving areas where your weakest path to strength. Well, yeah. I mean, because like, look. I mean, when I first, was working and shit, you think I was just like, being a confident little, little bushy-tailed little bunny or some shit? Fuck no. Like, I mean, I was a total anxious ridden, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Oh god, fucking riddled, and, like scared and anxious and shit, because I was worried that the slightest little fuck up, I was gonna get penalized or something. But after a while, I realized, okay, it's not that bad. It's not like I still don't go through shit like that every now and then. But, I mean, it's definitely something that's, fearful, at least at first. I mean, shit, even when I was, like, like, out in the protests of 2020, I mean, there's, like, there was definitely a lot of, like, fears going on for my head and shit about what was going on, or what could happen. I mean, I guess to some of them, they were kind of, oh, fucking fly. I mean, they were kind of, put the truth a little bit, being like, oh, what if I get arrested or some shit? Well, happened once. But, despite the bullshit around that and how horrible it wasn't really, like, as bad as, like I thought it was, but it was still bad. It still sucked. But nonetheless, went out, did it, and hey, it's like I wouldn't fucking trade it, for anything else. This motherfucker is just chilling here. Well, I got you, but I just, like, fucking, like, flung that shit right out of my hand. Yeah, bitch. I don't even know where it went, but I did get it. Little hoe. Man, silly dog. Ugh. I'm down to work for bare minimum. That's where most people start. Well, yeah. I mean, when I first started, my shit was at, like, minimum wage and shit. I mean, I had to start with the whole, like, I think it would be, like, the apprenticeship shit, before getting into journeyman. And I'm still having a fucking, like, deal with that type of shit. Actually, the day I was going to my concert, when I was getting my paycheck, the union rep just happened to be there, and she saw me. She came by. I was like, "Oh, did that wage stuff ever get fixed?" And I was like, "Well, kinda." And I showed her that it kinda did, and she was like, "The fuck." It's like, let me take a picture of this. This is like, what the hell? And, and was like, all right, I'm going to immediately follow up with this because I was on the assumption this was kind of resolved. And, after I got an email back from this, I'm like, well, yeah. And I'm just like, well, I've been meaning to follow up with you on it too as well, but I just had other shit going on. Just, we couldn't, get the time to do that. But, I mean, at least this time I actually have her direct information, so next time she does actually hit me up, I'll be like, oh, there she is, and, fucking respond. So, so that's at least good. It's like, at least it was partially fixed, and now it's actually going to be totally fixed. And I'm, next time I see her, or at least talk to her, I'm going to ask her about, like, if there's a way to at least, get back pay for what I was supposed to be fucking properly paid for. The minimum average wage should be higher, but it's not seriously. Honestly, I guess I've been able to work my way up to decent living. Yeah. I mean, same for me. I mean, even then, every now and then, I, still, I guess, in a sense, quote, leech off of other people. But, I don't even really necessarily like that, aspect of it either, or at least that term is wholly, because I don't necessarily think just, the virtue of just, like, being unemployed or, having, like, some sort of assisted income and shit doesn't necessarily inherently make you a fucking leech. And honestly, it's just like, I mean, fundamentally, at the end of the day, it's just like, I mean, we shouldn't necessarily have to work to just live. You know what I mean? Like, I think, use that as a way to, like, have, like, an extra, ladder up and shit, like, for extra comforts and this and that stuff, I think, yeah, sure. But there should at least be, like, a basic, comfortable standard of living that people, should fucking have. Regardless if they, can't work or don't want to or whatever the fuck. I mean, because no one should have to be on the fucking street or suffer or whatever the fuck just because of that. Dude, but that was it. Ugh. Boo. Let's get around the time for we're speaking of, I have to go to work here soon. Boo. I'll at least get this one more bowl loaded up. Yeah. With a physical message so they can't work and I no sister place for them. Yeah. Also, I don't think you should be required to work for bare minimum anyway. How to take it, I don't think you should have to work just fine. Well, that's kind of what I was just saying. I mean, at least, when it comes to, like, a bare, minimal of just, like, being able to live. Because, like I said, whether, someone chooses to or they actually legitimately can't for whatever reason, like, there shouldn't be, a reason why someone has to, like, be, like, penalized, when it comes to their, like, standard of living because of that. I mean, because everyone deserves at least, a basic, quality of living. Having a roof over the head, basic necessities, and at least some basic creature comforts and shit, you know what I mean? Or at least having an income to at least, afford those type of things. So, and if they want, like, more than that, and that type of shit, then, well, obviously, that's where, like, working for it comes into play. Like, and being able to get the extra leg up and shit. Like, if they don't want to necessarily live in a studio apartment, then, having a job where they can, have a higher income and shit to be able to afford something like that, will definitely be within the ballpark. So, I mean, either way, it's just like, there should, at the end of the day, just be a basic standard and like, society, using that structure to move up from. And actually have a genuine merit of, meritocracy and actually abide by that fucking principle. Kind of besting. Well, I mean, hey, I've had meltdowns at work before too, and yeah, it does suck. I mean, it happens. I've seen other people have it too. I mean, shit does suck. luckily, at least just around here, some people tend to be at least, you know, understanding and usually pretty chill. Not everybody, but at least some people. But anywho. To competition. Well, I mean, we have a freezer, and honestly, especially with my line of work, I feel the same way sometimes. And luckily, we got a freezer, so I just go in there and take our like meat chubs or whatever and just smack those. So, and those are always fun and a little cathartic. But anyway, I'll be back after work and all that fun shit. Gotta get in the grind, and it's gonna be fun. Yay. But anyway, peace out. Of course, smack them chubs.